السلام عليكم حبيبي.
السلام.
شو كده؟ استغفر الله. स्पीकर चेक किया जरा बिस्मिल्लाह पढ़ें बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम
माशाअल्लाह माशाअल्लाह कमाल है क्या बात है शाह साहब आपकी क्या बात है अल्लाहु अकबर कबीरा कुरान पाक है मेरा 18 सब 15 सुपारा निकालें सूरह का टोपी ना उसको पीछे रखना ये सूरह कहफ का क्या हुआ मुस्कुराहट नजर आ रही है मुझे आपकी मुस्कुराहट नजर आ रही है माशाअल्लाह मुस्कुराया करें 1 minute left वालेकुम अस्सलाम व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातुहू आज जो है टाइम टेबल के मुताबिक कितने बजे शाम का 45 या 50 ठीक 47 चलें अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह रब्बिल आलमीन वस्सलातु वस्सलामु अला सय्यिदिना रसूलिल करीम अम्मा बाद बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम. Dear respected brothers, sisters, children and elders, those that have joined us from home in this 15th live Taraweeh session from the Islamic Center of Ireland. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. May Allah Almighty accept our fasting today. May Allah Almighty accept our attendance today, our ibadah today, our qiyamul layl tonight. Inshallah, today we are going to start with the recitation of the 15th juz of the Holy Quran. So we are at the nisf of the Holy Quran by now, alhamdulillah. And this 15th juz of the Quran starts with the chapter, the 15th juz starts with a chapter called Surah Al-Isra, also known as Surah Bani Israel. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts talking in this surah, in this juz, about a miraculous journey that He bestowed upon the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, like many other prophets, in fact, many other messengers, also received miracles to verify and confirm that he indeed was a messenger of God. And every prophet, as we have discussed in the previous many recitations of the Quran, that Allah Almighty granted Prophet Isa alayhi salam and other prophets miracles. And miracles, mu'jizat, are those extraordinary incidents, events, and occurring and happenings that in normal circumstances would not have been possible. So mu'jizat are literally actions that are against the law of physics, actions that are against the law of, you could say, nature, which Allah Almighty has created. But because He is the creator of these laws of physics, laws of nature, He also is able to modify them, edit them where He seems necessary. And the prophets received miracles, and these were to highlight that in fact these people that were human beings were indeed messengers of God. And to verify that claim, Allah Almighty gave them very many academic, intellectual, dalail evidences, but also the mu'jizat were the ultimate evidence and proof that these were the messengers of God. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, since he is the final messenger, and his ummah, we and people after us until the day of judgment, we will be known, and we will exceed in science, we will exceed in technology, and because of that, Allah Almighty gave every prophet befitting miracles. The greatest miracle that Allah gave to the Holy Prophet ﷺ is the Holy Quran that we recite. But then the second greatest miracle granted to the Prophet ﷺ is that miraculous journey, the journey of Isra and the journey of Mi'raj. Now in this journey, the Prophet ﷺ was taken from Mecca to Masjid al-Aqsa in Jerusalem, from Jerusalem all the way beyond the universe to a place called Sidratul Muntaha. And then the Prophet ﷺ not only traveled there, in each station he spent time. He met, for example, the prophets in Jerusalem. All the prophets of Allah, from Adam alayhi salam all the way to Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, were brought back to life by Allah Almighty, and they prayed behind him. Similarly, the Prophet ﷺ went to the various different stations, and he witnessed also Allah Almighty's blessings that Allah has created in the heaven, in the paradise. And the Prophet ﷺ also witnessed the wrath and the punishment of Allah that He has prepared for those that are disobedient to Him. And we ask Allah Almighty that He gives us His fadl, His blessing, and He keeps us away, protects us from any kind of harm, any kind of punishment in the hereafter. So the Prophet ﷺ then traveled back, and the whole journey that would have taken thousands of, in fact hundreds of years normally, because he went beyond the universes, that journey took only a fraction of a second. And the Prophet ﷺ went with his physical body. This journey, this Mi'raj, was not a spiritual journey. In fact, the 15th juz starts with the following statement: Subhan alladhi asra bi'abdihi layla. That magnificent is He. He is free from any error, free from any weakness. There is nothing that He is not able to do, because He is the most powerful. Subhan alladhi asra bi'abdihi. He is the one who took His servant. Abd is not the soul, but in fact the servant. The servant meaning the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this journey, Allah talks about it in detail, and the fact that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was able to go and come back, travel, and his matter did not disintegrate. And I have given various different talks and lectures about this on the Mi'raj and how it can relate to science today, and how also we can understand from it the hidden meanings behind the name of Burraq, that animal on which the Prophet ﷺ also traveled. And we have discussed the theory of Einstein, the theory of relativity, in detail in many of my lectures, and you can go on YouTube, you can search for that. But the point is that the Prophet ﷺ went on this journey, came back, and the reason for that was الَّذِي بَارَكْنَا حَوْلَهُ لِنُرِيَهُ مِنْ آيَاتِنَا. Allah wanted to show him some of his signs. And Allah Almighty did. The Prophet ﷺ came back, he informed the people about this journey. Many people couldn't believe that he went with his physical body. They would have believed him if he had claimed that he had gone with his soul, or in a dream, because in a dream anybody can go anywhere. You could go to any place in your dream. But the Prophet ﷺ's claim was not that he went in a dream, it was that he went with his physical body. And that was something that people could not understand. And even until today, it's not possible to do that within a fraction of a second. You can't even go from Makkah to Masjid al-Aqsa in a fraction of a second, let alone beyond the universes. So then Allah Almighty talks in this juz about the fact that humans are hasty. They are hasty beings. And the reward and punishment, everything has its time. Allah Almighty also highlights that moral and spiritual principles, he emphasizes on these and highlights particularly too in these moral and spiritual principles of our faith, and that is worship of God, worship of Allah, and respect of your parents. Allah Almighty also talks about moral principles. He talks about the children's rights, the rights of children, rights of the right of life. He talks about orphans' property, honesty in dealings, and humbleness. And when you make promises, make sure you fulfill those promises. Allah also talks about the most basic fundamental teaching of our faith, which is Tawheed. He talks about that gentleness is enjoyed. Also, Allah Almighty again reminds us of Iblis, Shaitan's pride against the human being, against the man, and his pledge to mislead human beings. And Allah Almighty talks and highlights that the Quran is illimitable. The Quran is unlimited. Its message is not just for the people 1400 years ago. Its message is for the people until the Day of Judgment. It's for all humanity. And it is inimitable. So nobody can imitate it. There is no one that can provide a similar book, because the one that sent this book is God, and there is only one God. Then, subhanAllah, this surah also talks about a very beautiful surah, Surah Al-Kahf. Surah Al-Kahf, the chapter of the cave. The Prophet ﷺ has recommended to the Ummah to every Friday recite Surah Al-Kahf. Surah Al-Kahf is a beautiful chapter of the Quran that highlights certain stories. It highlights the story of course, firstly, the people of the cave, certain people that believed in Allah, and there were very few of them at that time, and then they were put into a calamity, a difficulty, and the ruler wanted to assassinate them, but Allah Almighty saved them, and He saved them in a miraculous way, that these people, they slept for 3 centuries approximately in a cave, and by the time they woke up, miraculously, nothing had happened to them, and nothing had happened to their belongings. In fact, when they woke up, they couldn't, it was amazing, because they woke up many centuries later, and the world around them, everything was going on, and they did not disintegrate, they did not die, and they were kept alive by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is one of the miracles that the Quran mentions. Also, it is an evidence, and it's a proof of resurrection. Always remember Allah, everything depends on Allah. The Surah Al-Kahf also highlights you must associate yourself with good company, with good friends, with good people, because once you do that with those that are obedient, you also will have influence. Society influences you. Make sure you choose your friends rightly. And also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about wealth and children are only a passing show, and also Allah ta'ala talks about He is merciful, and the story of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam and Sayyidina Khizr. Tomorrow inshallah I will talk about a little bit more in detail about Surah Al-Kahf, but today inshallah, because of the lack of time, that's it. Allah Almighty accept our Salat Taraweeh tonight. Inshallah we are going to start in the next few minutes. Please prepare for Salat Taraweeh. سبحان ذي الملك والملكوت سبحان ذي العزة والعظمة والهيبة والقدرة والكبرياء والجلال سبحان Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. Thank you very much, sister or brother, for asking. Alhamdulillah, I'm well. Jazakumullah khair. صلاة التراويح. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. سبحان الذي أسرى بعبده ليلا من المسجد الحرام إلى المسجد الأقصى الذي باركنا حوله لنريه من آياتنا إنه هو السميع البصير. وآتينا موسى الكتاب وجعلناه هدى لبني إسرائيل ألا تتخذوا من دوني وكيلا ذرية من حملنا مع نوح إنه كان عبدا شكورا. وقضينا إلى بني إسرائيل في الكتاب لتفسدن في الأرض مرتين ولتعلن علوا كبيرا فإذا جاء وعد أولاهما بعثنا عليكم عبادا لنا أولي بأس شديد فجاسوا خلال الديار وكان وعدا مفعولا. ثم رددنا لكم الكرة عليهم وأمددناكم بأموال وبنين وجعلناكم أكثر نفيرا. إن أحسنتم لأنفسكم وإن أسأتم فلها فإذا جاء وعد الآخرة ليسوءوا وجوهكم وليدخلوا المسجد كما دخلوه أول مرة وليتمروا ما علوا تتبيرا. عسى ربكم أن يرحمكم وإن عدتم عدنا وجعلنا جهنم للكافرين حسيرا. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين. إن هذا القرآن يهدي للتي هي أقوم ويبشر المؤمنين الذين يعملون الصالحات أن لهم أجرا كبيرا وأن الذين لا يؤمنون بالآخرة أعتدنا لهم عذابا أليما. ويدعو الإنسان بالشر دعاءه بالخير وكان الإنسان عجولا. وجعلنا الليل والنهار آيتين
فمحونا آية الليل وجعلنا آية النهار مبصرة لتبتغوا فضلا من ربكم ولتعلموا عدد السنين والحساب وكل شيء فضلناه تفضيلا وكل إنسان ألزمناه طائره في عنقه ونخرج له يوم القيامة كتابا يلقاه منشورا اقرأ كتابك كفى بنفسك اليوم عليك حسيبا من اهتدى فإنما يهتدي لنفسه ومن ضل فإنما يضل عليها ولا تزر وازرة وزر أخرى وما كنا معذبين حتى نبعث رسولا. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. وإذا أردنا أن نهلك قرية أمرنا مترفيها ففسقوا فيها فحق عليها القول فدمرناها تدميرا وكم أهلكنا من القرون من بعد نوح وكفى بربك بذنوب عباده خبيرا بصيرا من كان يريد العاجلة عجلنا له فيها ما نشاء لمن نريد ثم جعلنا له جهنم يصلاها مذموما مدحورا ومن أراد الآخرة وسعى لها سعيها وهو مؤمن فأولئك كان سعيهم مشكورا كلا نمد هؤلاء وهؤلاء من عطاء ربك وما كان عطاء ربك محظورا انظر كيف فضلنا بعضهم على بعض وللآخرة أكبر درجات وأكبر تفضيلا لا تجعل مع الله إلها آخر فتقعد مذموما مخزولا. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. وقضى ربك ألا تعبدوا إلا إياه وبالوالدين إحسانا إما يبلغن عندك الكبر أحدهما أو كلاهما فلا تقل لهما أف ولا تنهرهما وقل لهما قولا كريما واحفظ لهما جناح الذل من الرحمة وقل رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا ربكم أعلم بما في نفوسكم إن تكونوا صالحين فإنه كان للأوابين غفورا وآت ذي القربى حقه والمسكين وابن السبيل ولا تبذر تبذيرا إن المبذرين كانوا إخوان الشياطين وكان الشيطان لربه كفورا وإما تعرضن عنهم ابتغاء رحمة من ربك ترجوها فقل لهم قولا ميسورا ولا تجعل يدك مغلولة إلى عنقك ولا تبسطها كل البسط فتقعد ملموما محسورا إن ربك يبسط الرزق لمن يشاء ويقدر إنه كان بعباده خبير بصيرا الله أكبر سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر السلام عليكم ورحمة الله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله
जी Let us ask our muqtadis. Imam Anwar Shah Sahab is asking me, did we read 4 rakat, did we read 3 rakat? So I think we read 4 rakat. Shah Sahab isn't sure. So please, those at home, please respond and please let us know how many rakat we have prayed. Because you are witness and you are praying with us. MashaAllah. Just waiting for a response there. Maybe on my WhatsApp. Okay, in the meantime, while you can inshallah 4. Alhamdulillah, it was fine. 4 rakat, Shah Sahab. Shah Sahab, you, mashallah, I think are younger than me, right?
Yeah.
How old are you?
36.
36. 1 year younger than me. And you should have a stronger memory. MashaAllah. So, Alhamdulillah, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. My dear respected brothers and sisters, we are going to inshallah, talk about the Ulum al-Quran, translation of the Holy Quran. Today I want to talk about the English translations that are available in the market. I didn't get a chance, I just came a little bit late. I would have actually brought those hard copies that I have in my office to show you, but inshallah I can talk about these. Often I get people to ask me, they ask me which translation of the Holy Quran would you recommend? And I'm going to give you my answer today. But one thing I think everybody should understand, that translations are a human effort to try to tell the reader what the message is behind the revelation. And some of these translations are literal translations, very literal, and they have been translated in a way where when you read it, you actually become confused. That's one thing. So the other thing is that there are some translations that are easy to read, and they are not really literal translation. They have, like, within brackets, they would have some additional words, additional explanations, etc. But the person that has done the translation, that person is not really qualified. So you need to really know a few things. Firstly, you need to know who carried out this translation. Who was it? Was it a person that had, when was he born? Where did he live? What society did he live in? His qualifications, his credentials. Was he merely a translator from, somebody that translates text from English to Arabic, or Arabic to English, vice versa? Or was he someone who actually was a scholar and had studied classical Arabic? He was an expert in classical Arabic. Another question. So what do you know about this person? What society did he live in? What year did he live in? A translation that was 100 years ago done in English obviously is not really relevant, because the circumstances were different. Today, it's a very different situation that we live in. That particular translation would probably not have been right for you to understand the meaning of the Quran. Does this person that has written the translation inspire confidence in their Arabic language ability and the knowledge of other sources, such as the commentaries of the Quran? Does that person have that knowledge, that before he came and did the translation of the Quran, he actually consulted various different commentaries, tafasir, so he could actually give you the accurate translation? Because in Arabic, particularly in classical Arabic, one word could have 50, 60 different meanings. The word salat, what do you understand from that? What does it mean? You would say prayer. Salat means prayer. But do you know, in the Arabic language, it has many meanings. Salat also means to honor someone. Salat also means to get close to someone. That's why, remember when we say, Inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi. Allah and His Messenger, they send salah. This yusalluna comes from salat, same root word. They send salat. What does it mean? Do they pray? Of course not. If you make the translation of this verse in this way, that Allah and the angels pray, it would be shirk. It would be kufr. But the right translation is, in this particular context, send salutations, send blessings, honor. This is what it means. So that's why in Arabic, you need to know whether the person who did the translation, tick these boxes. And also, did the person have any obvious biases? Was he biased maybe in one way or another? Because some people may be biased because they belong to a particular school of thought, and their translation, they may want to translate it in a way that would be biased. And I'll give you an example. There is a translation out there, Sahih International of the Quran. It's a translation that has been, particularly in the 90s, in 2000s, given freely to people. And the translation, if you give that translation to anyone that is not a Muslim and wants to understand Islam, that person will be put off, because the translation is full of anti-Semitism. It's full of, this concept that men are somehow superior to women. It's a translation that would not be really accurate and give you the meaning and the true understanding of the Quran. In fact, it would maybe even push certain people away from Islam. So it's really important that you understand that the translation of the Quran that you should know, just having a translation of someone doesn't mean anything. You should know who did the translation, what is his background, was he qualified for that, does he have any obvious biases or not, so that all of that you need to know. So if you ask me, what do you recommend to somebody who is a new Muslim or who is a Muslim but wants to rediscover or wants to understand his faith, because now he realizes he wants to study the Quran. So he wants to know the meaning of the Quran. He has been listening to the Quran all his life. So I would say invest in the study Quran. The study Quran is a translation and a commentary that was recently came in the market, and it was edited by a contemporary Muslim scholar called Sayyid Hussein Nasr, and he edited it. But there were many scholars and all these scholars, this is really interesting, 3 of them, a part of Sayyid Hussein Nasr and Muhammad Rustam, who is an assistant editor. He is an assistant editor of this Quran, and he himself is an associate professor of Islamic studies at the Carleton University. A part of these 2, the other 3, they were converts, subhanAllah. But they were those that, like Professor Joseph Lombard, who I have met in Abu Dhabi. He is at the moment assistant professor of religious studies at the translation studies at the American University of Sharjah. I met him in Abu Dhabi in a few conferences, and I've gone through this. It's an amazing translation. These people, they converted from Christianity to Islam, but then they became scholars of Islam. They studied, and they are professors of the Arabic language. So they have also, it's their input also. A part of course, Sayyid Hussein Nasr, that is a contemporary heavyweight scholar of today, who was the editor of this. So I would say that you should actually buy this. It's available on Amazon, it's available on Kindle, it's available online, the study Quran. And if you contact me in the group, I may actually have a link that I can send you to, inshallah. The next thing is that I would highly recommend. It's a translation by a person called Muhammad Asad. And Muhammad Asad he wrote the translation, and it's entitled The Message of the Quran. Muhammad Asad was a scholar who was born in 1900, and he died in 1992. Interestingly, he was born a Jew. He was born as Leopold Weiss, and in Poland. He was Polish, and then he embraced Islam, and he converted to Islam in 1926, and he became Muhammad Asad. He had a remarkable life, because not only did he become an Islamic scholar, he also became Pakistan's ambassador to the United Nations. So Pakistan, that came into existence in 1947, its first ambassador to the United Nations was a person who was born as a Jew, Polish Jew, and who embraced Islam. And subhanAllah, he represented, not only did he did this amazing translation of the Quran, but also he was so honored and remarkable that he represented a Muslim state in the United Nations. He also, by the way, wrote The Road to Mecca. This was the first inspiring and autobiography of a person going to Hajj. So for the world, the non-Muslim world, this was the first time they got an insight into this. I will share, inshallah, the link. And of course, please do purchase the link. You can buy it on Kindle. And the amazing thing about going back to the study Quran by Sayyid Hussein Nasr, amazingly, if you look at the verses, beyond every page there are footnotes, and they will tell you, according to this tafsir Tabari said this, Tafsir Qurtubi said this, Tafsir Shawkani said this, Tafsir Razi said this, Tafsir Ibn Kasir said this. So they will write that what are the different commenters of the Quran saying about this. And even for example, the verse verses that are somehow wrongly misunderstood, like the verse where it says daraba, the word which means in this context, in that verse, to go apart, to divorce, not to hit. But some people have understood that and translated that verse as hit your wife, which is absolutely unacceptable in Islam. Domestic violence is not acceptable. So Muhammad Asad, by the way, it took him 17 years to complete this. 17 years. And I highly recommend it because it's very clear. There is a lot of clarity in it and in the translated text. And also there are footnotes again with the message of the Quran by Muhammad Asad. That's the second one. Another one that I would recommend is by my teacher, who is Sheikh Dr. Tahir Al-Qadri. He wrote the glorious Quran, also known as Irfan al-Quran. I think that is also, it would come at number 3. Definitely Muhammad Asad and Sayyid Hussein Nasr's, their inputs for me are number 1 and 2. The reason is because they are Western academics. They are those that, they have lived their life in the society, and they have the best of both worlds. They did their degrees here, they studied here, they had lived here, and at the same time they did study in the Muslim world, and they became great scholars at the same time. So their input, I think, is much more, to me, appealing for you to read than the one that is written by one of my shuyukh, one of my teachers, because he had all his qualification in Pakistan, not abroad. And you can see that even in translation, you can see the sense. Although I must say that his work is tremendous, because he has made sure that the mistakes made by previous, and some people, they go by the translations of Yusuf Ali. To be honest with you, when you have studied Quran, you have Muhammad Asad's the meaning of the Quran, there is no need to go to those translations that were written decades ago. May Allah reward those people that translated them, but they were not necessarily all of them scholars, as I said. So these 3 are subhanallah. Now I'll give you an example of, there are some examples of translations that are done by people that actually weren't scholars, Islamic scholars. They were engineers. They happened to have fluency in English, they happened to know Arabic, and they decided, let's just translate the Holy Quran. And these kind of efforts are very problematic because they haven't taken into consideration the meaning, the revelation, the reason of revelation, the commentaries on it, and what really the meaning of that verse particularly would have been. So therefore, when you read these, you would become more confused. And the whole idea behind reading the study Quran and the meaning of the Quran and the glorious Quran is that when you read, it goes with the flow. It's very easy for you to read. Some of the translations, if you try to read them, you actually get, as I said, you wouldn't want to continue reading. It's like they have translated in a way the reader isn't really inspired to carry on reading. It's kind of really hard for you to read, because it's become so difficult, and even understanding it becomes so difficult. But these 3 examples I gave you of the various translations, in my opinion, are the best. And if you want to know the meaning of the Quran, you want to read them, please read these ones in English. If you want to go in Urdu or any other language, please ask me. Inshallah, I can give you my view on that in our Islamic Center WhatsApp. Just quick messages. I'm just looking at the messages that I've received from you, Brother Tawsif, Brother Ridwan. Inshallah, yes, I will, inshallah. In fact, I believe I have already in the WhatsApp group given this before, but I will inshallah repeat that. So may Allah Almighty accept this from us. Yes?
I think the last 2 Saturday time, there is a mistake on the website. It's just like 1 hour.
Last final?
Last Friday.
Okay, I know that. Anything else?
So this is
What time did you wake up today?
today, 20 minutes.
20 minutes before. MashaAllah. I just want to tell our viewers, our brothers and sisters, those that come to the masjid, they are aware of MashaAllah Sheikh Imam Anwar. Inshallah, yes, Brother Albert, I will inshallah do that. In fact, I will record a proper video on this, on the translations of the Quran. I'll do that inshallah. I probably in Ramadan. Tomorrow, by the way, I will be talking about zakat. Tomorrow on Jummah, as I promised that I will deliver on Jummah, I will talk about zakat inshallah. So please join us tomorrow for Jummah. Brother Imam Anwar Shah Sahab, I just want everybody to know in my community, in my congregation, we have an Imam who is 1 year younger than me, 36. He's 36, I'm 37. Mashallah, I'm married, I have 3 children, alhamdulillah. Imam Anwar is not married yet. So he today complained to me that for 2 years he has been here, right?
Yeah.
And he has seen me conducting dozens of marriages, getting people connected, getting them married. So he says that I'm like this, you know, this light, it's giving light everywhere, but look at it under there, it's dark, like a candle. Under the candle there is darkness. That's he compared me to that, right? So I want to make sure that we give a little bit light to the Imam. Please help us, inshallah, to find someone in the community, in the congregation, in our mashallah community, so he can fulfill the sunnah of marriage, because obviously it's important. Inshallah, I will do my best, Imam Sahib. So I've told everybody that also to look, inshallah, and to see if there is any such, inshallah, because again, the Prophet ﷺ said, "An-nikahu min sunnati, faman raghiba an sunnati falaysa minni." Nikah is the sunnah, and of course, what we can do is we can only recommend, based on compatibility. For the rest, it's up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And these kind of also efforts within the community are very much needed, inshallah. May Allah Almighty make it easy. Jazakumullah khair.
سبحان ذي الملك والملكوت، سبحان ذي العزة والعظمة والهيبة والقدرة والكبرياء والجبروت، سبحان الملك الحي الذي لا ينام ولا يموت، سبوح قدوس ربنا ورب الملائكة والروح. اللهم أجرنا من النار يا مجير يا مجير يا مجير. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. الحمد لله الذي أنزل على عبده الكتاب ولم يجعل له عوجا قيما لينذر بأسا شديدا من لدنه ويبشر المؤمنين الذين يعملون الصالحات أن لهم أجرا حسنا ماكثين فيه أبدا وينذر الذين قالوا اتخذ الله ولدا ما لهم به من علم ولا لآبائهم كبرت كلمة تخرج من أفواههم إن يقولون إلا كذبا فلعلك باخع نفسك على آثارهم إن لم يؤمنوا بهذا الحديث أسفا إنا جعلنا ما على الأرض زينة لها لنبلوهم أيهم أحسن عملا وإنا لجاعلون ما عليها سعيدا جرزا أم حسبت أن أصحاب الكهف والرقيم كانوا من آياتنا عجبا إذ أوى الفتية إلى الكهف فقالوا ربنا آتنا من لدنك رحمة وهيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا فضربنا على آذانهم في الكهف سنين عددا ثم بعثناهم لنعلم أي الحزبين أحسى لما لبثوا أمدا نحن نقص عليك نبأهم بالحق إنهم فتية وآمنوا بربهم وزدناهم هدى وربطنا على قلوبهم إذ قاموا فقالوا ربنا رب السماوات والأرض لن ندعو من دونه إلها لقد قلنا إذا شططا هؤلاء قوم اتخذوا من دونه آلهة لولا يأتون عليهم بسلطان بين فمن أظلم ممن افترى على الله كذبا وإذ اعتزلتموهم وما يعبدون إلا الله فآوى إلى الكهف ينشر لكم ربكم من رحمته ويهيئ لكم من أمركم مرفقا. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. وترى الشمس إذا طلعت تزاور عن كهفهم ذات اليمين وإذا غربت تفرضهم ذات الشمال وهم في فجوة منه ذلك من آيات الله من يهد الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا وتحسبهم أيقاظا وهم رقود ونقلبهم ذات اليمين وذات الشمال وكلبهم باسط ذراعيه بالوصيد لو اطلعت عليهم لوليت منهم فرارا ولملئت منهم رعبا وكذلك بعثناهم ليتساءلوا بينهم قال قائل منهم كم لبثتم قالوا لبثنا يوما أو بعض يوم قالوا ربكم أعلم بما لبثتم فبعثوا أحدكم بورقكم هذه إلى المدينة فلينظر أيها أزكى طعاما فليأتكم برزق منه وليتلطف ولا يشعرن بكم أحدا إنهم أن يظهروا عليكم أن يرجموكم أو يعيدوكم في ملتهم ولن تفلحوا إذا أبدا. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. يا حي يا قيوم برحمتك نستغيث. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. إنهم أن يظهروا عليكم يرجموكم أو يعيدوكم في ملتهم ولن تفلحوا إذا أبدا وكذلك أعثرنا عليهم ليعلموا أن وعد الله حق وأن الساعة لا ريب فيها إذ يتنازعون بينهم أمرهم فقالوا ابنوا عليهم بنيانا ربهم أعلم بهم قال الذين غلبوا على أمرهم لنتخذن عليهم مسجدا سيقولون ثلاثة رابعهم كلبهم ويقولون خمسة سادسهم كلبهم رجما بالغيب ويقولون سبعة وثامنهم كلبهم قل ربي أعلم بعدتهم ما يعلمهم إلا قليل فلا تمار فيهم إلا مراء ظاهرا ولا تستفت فيهم منهم أحدا ولا تقولن لشيء إني فاعل ذلك غدا إلا أن يشاء الله واذكر ربك إذا نسيت وقل عسى أن يهديني ربي لأقرب من هذا رشدا ولبثوا في كهفهم 300 سنين وازدادوا 9 الله أكبر سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين قل الله أعلم بما لبثوا له غيب السماوات والأرض أبصر به وأسمع ما لهم من دونه من ولي ولا يشرك في حكمه أحدا واتل ما أوحي إليك من كتاب ربك لا مبدل لكلماته ولن تجد من دونه ملتحدا واصبر نفسك مع الذين يدعون ربهم بالغداة والعشي يريدون وجهه ولا تعد عيناك عنهم تريد زينة الحياة الدنيا ولا تطع من أغفلنا قلبه عن ذكرنا واتبع هواه وكان أمره قرطا وقل الحق من ربكم فمن شاء فليؤمن ومن شاء فليكفر إنا أعتدنا للظالمين نارا أحاط بهم سرادقها وإن يستغيثوا يغاثوا بماء كالمهل يشوي الوجوه بئس الشراب وساءت مرتفقا إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات إنا لا نضيع أجر من أحسن عملا إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات إنا لا نضيع أجر من أحسن عملا أولئك لهم جنات عدن تجري من تحتهم الأنهار يحلون فيها من أساور من ذهب ويلبسون ثيابا خضرا من سندس واستبرق متكئين فيها على الأرائك نعم الثواب وحسنت مرتفقا الله أكبر سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, we have completed today our 8th rakat of Taraweeh. We did not complete Surah Al-Kahf, but this is for all of you at home. The Prophet ﷺ recommended to complete Surah Al-Kahf on the day of Friday. Please recite Surah Fatiha either tonight or otherwise tomorrow morning, inshallah. And the best time for it is actually around the time before Jum'ah. That is the best time to recite Surah Fatiha according to many scholars. Tomorrow, inshallah, we will be live at 1:30 from the masjid for Salatul Jum'ah. Please at home prepare for Salatul Jum'ah as you would have been prepared any other day. Take a shower, take a ghusl, wear clean clothes, put fragrance on yourself, prepare the room where you will be praying with fragrance, and with the all family members, sit down inshallah, and 1:30 the khutbah will start, and 2 o'clock inshallah the prayer. May Allah Almighty accept this from us. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Allahumma salli ala سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم وسلم عليه. اللهم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم. اللهم فاغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار يا عزيز يا غفار يا رب العالمين. اللهم نذر قلوبنا بنور القرآن. اللهم زين أخلاقنا بأخلاق السيد الحبيب المصطفى. اللهم إنا نسألك الصحة والعفة والأمانة وحسن الخلق والرضا بالقدر. اللهم إنك عفو كريم تحب العفو فاعف عنا يا أرحم الراحمين. وصلى الله تعالى على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
ओके करूं?
जी ओके